So, what exactly is a pain point? Plus 10 things you kind of need to know about them. So, pain points is kind of a jargony word, I guess you could say, that's thrown around a lot in marketing and in copywriting. But ultimately, a pain point is just something that's causing somebody pain in their life. It's really that simple. And there are different kinds of pain points, right? There are the minor ones, there are the deeper ones, some are physical, some are emotional. In fact, most of them are emotional. But it's really important to understand not only what they are, but their importance to them and how to use them well, but also ethically, quite frankly. By the way, I'm Sarah Turner. I'm a freelance medical copywriter, copywriting mentor, and I think this is a really important conversation. In fact, I think in the world of marketing, the conversation around pain points and how to use them needs to shift ever so slightly. So we're going to dig into that today. The reason pain points are important to talk about is because they're often used to draw awareness to a prospect around something in their life that they don't like and how your product or service is the solution that's going to solve that problem or ease that pain point, right? And quite frankly, it's what makes your copy compelling, or a large part of it. So it's important to know how to use them, how to not create pain points that aren't already there. That's really important. And really just to bring gentle awareness to them. So let's talk about a few examples before we kind of dig in. One might be physical. It might be a headache. And that is something that causes you pain, prevents you from getting your work done. Those are all pain points for the same situation. And so the product or solution might be Advil or some sort of medication or supplement or something that's going to alleviate that problem. So that's a pretty obvious one, right? Another one might be touching on the sense of FOMO or the fear of missing out, right? And so maybe a cosmetic company is pitching to you the idea that you really want to buy this particular brand of makeup or style of makeup because it's really trendy and hot right now, and you're going to miss out on it because we know how trends kind of come and go. So that might be an example of kind of touching on somebody's sense of FOMO. Another pain point could be a sense of insecurity or not knowing what's out there. That's a big one in like the legal world and insecurity. So maybe you have a piece of software that makes your computer more secure. And so you could potentially tap into the fear around how their computer might not be secure unless you buy this piece of software to protect yourself from hackers and just kind of the influx of scams out there on the internet and just like on your computer in general, right? So I'm just kind of coming up with some random examples here to kind of highlight what I'm talking about. You could have something that provides relief for a problem. Maybe you have a partner that snores and you have a product that helps people who snore. And you're actually touching on the pain points of the spouse, saying, don't you wish you could get some sleep, but you feel bad that your partner's struggling to like sleep at night as well? I mean, that could be another option. So I feel like at this point, you're kind of getting the idea. The word pain point kind of says what it is in the name itself, but it can be so many different things. And again, usually it's an emotional pain point. So when you're coming up with copy or when you're coming up with marketing ideas, the question you always want to ask yourself is, how can I alleviate pain points, or what pain points does my product or service alleviate? And how can I integrate that, bring awareness to the pain points, bring awareness to the things that are making somebody uncomfortable or angry or sad or frustrated, to make them want to buy my product or service. So that's the general idea around pain points and thinking about pain points. So let's talk about important things to know about pain points. So the first thing is a pain point might not actually be pain. It could actually just be an inkling or an itch, a longing even, some sort of frustration. It could be kind of minor. And sometimes when it's a minor issue, what you really want to do is kind of create more awareness to that pain. And sometimes as a result of really effective copy, something that was kind of in the back of someone's mind is brought to the forefront to where they're like, wow, I really actually would like to fix this problem in my life. I would like to have something better. Another important thing to know about pain points is they can be used ethically or unethically. Now, it's really exciting to me that I'm seeing people starting to have these more nuanced conversations around the ethics of copywriting and of marketing. I think it's super important. Some people are going so far as to say that you should never use pain points in copy. And quite frankly, I think that that's not necessary. I think you can be very conscious and aware and to use them in a way that brings awareness, but doesn't make somebody feel horrible about themselves, like they're dumb, or less than, because there is types of copy that I consider unethical. The ones that kind of we think of when we think of old school copy, where it's weight loss ads and they're calling somebody like fat or shaming them for their body. Like, that is an example of unethical marketing. And quite frankly, it turns people off these days. And I'm really glad to be living in a time where that's the case, where the consumer is just generally more educated, more aware, and kind of doesn't often put up with that bullshit, right? So it's really important to know that you can use pain points ethically and unethically, because when you are bringing awareness to somebody's pain points and they already exist, then to me that is okay in most cases. So my next point is, you do not have to exploit somebody's insecurities. And that's kind of going back to that example I just gave on the weight loss. That would be exploiting somebody's deep insecurities. You can, however, highlight them. So this requires some subtlety, right? And some nuance. So let's kind of dig into that a little bit. So for weight loss, for example, there would be a massive difference between shaming someone's body, making them feel less than. I'm getting kind of mad even thinking about it, because I've seen ads like this. Making them feel dumb for not knowing how to take care of themselves, making them feel just like shit for being where they are physically. And then you can kind of highlight the same things, being unhappy with your body, and moving it more into a place where you're going towards empowerment, right? So that might be, are you unhappy? Is there something that would make you feel better, stronger, give you more energy, so you're not experiencing that 3 p.m. slump, so you can play with your kids and have energy and feel good in your body? So that would be 2 different ways to go about the exact same pain point. And I feel like it's easy to see how different they are and how they would have somebody feel at the end of it. So another important thing to know about pain points is you can use more than one in your copy. In fact, you probably should, because you really want to paint the overall picture of what's going on in someone's life. Okay, using the weight loss thing kind of as our running example at this point. I wasn't planning on doing that, but here we are. Another pain point that you might actually want to touch on is how they might be experiencing more brain fog, because they're just not in a place where their body is super healthy at this point in time. They also might be experiencing a sugar addiction, which is very real. And that's something to approach with a lot of empathy, right? So these are all different things that you could touch on depending on who your actual audience is. Another thing to keep in mind is that some pain points will work better with some products than others. And the other thing that you should definitely keep in mind along the same lines is that emotional pain points tend to work far better than just purely like logical ones. Let's go back to that headache. For example, yes, a headache is directly pain, and that would be a direct payoff of taking Advil, for example, is to alleviate that pain. But in most cases, the emotional benefits are actually generally more powerful. So for example, you won't miss a day, you won't be knocked out for an afternoon, you won't get behind on work, you won't miss precious opportunities with your kids. I mean, these are a little bit of an exaggeration for a light headache, but for somebody who experiences chronic headaches, this is something that is going to be more powerful in the long run, right? And this brings me to my next point. Keep in mind, you shouldn't create pain points that aren't there. In fact, whenever somebody creates pain points that are weak or loose or just kind of there for the sake of trying to create more pain, people can often see through that. And it creates a lack of trust, and ultimately is not a good long-term strategy for a brand or a business who's hoping to have repeat customers. So it's just not worth it. It's not worth it for a few extra sales. It's so much better to really dig into your audience, to get to know them, to know what their true pain is, and to have true solutions to their problems. And so yeah, pain points don't always make copy compelling. They have to be used well. That is super important. This is another difference between ethical and unethical marketing, in my opinion. An effective use of pain points builds trust between you and your audience. And that, my friend, is actually a very good way to kind of differentiate between good copy and, in my opinion, harmful copy. Because when you are using pain points in a way that builds trust, what you're actually doing is you're making the person who's reading your copy feel seen and understood, not shamed or guilty, Not to say you can't touch on shame and guilt, but I think it's important if you're going to do that, that you call it out and you offer some real insight and solutions to that instead of just calling it out to make them feel like shit to buy your product. See what we're talking about here? And you can probably feel the emotion that I have behind this subject, and it's because I'm so sick of harmful marketing. The other thing to keep in mind is that compelling pain points that are effective, are going to speak to a specific audience, not to everyone. And this makes a lot of sense when you think about it, especially in the context of kind of how we've discussed it so far, right? If you have a product that has a true solution to a pain point, for example, one of my clients makes keto-related products, and they have a particular supplement of electrolytes that helps people get through the keto flu, which is kind of when you're detoxing from sugar and feels awful, and it helps them have fewer or even no symptoms at all. So that's a very specific product, and it's not going to apply to everyone, right? It's only going to apply to people who are starting to get on the keto diet, and also people who are probably on the keto diet in general, because actually your electrolytes are something that you need to be concerned about sometimes with keto. Anyway, side tangent. What the point of this is that it's a very specific thing. It's a specific product that's going to only apply to a very specific audience. And so you should be sure to call that out in your copy. And that's how when people read copy and they think this thing was made specifically for me. So the other thing I want to make sure to just remember about pain points is this is not what all that copy is about. This is an element of copy and an element of marketing, right? So definitely don't take this to mean that pain points are the only thing that's going on in your copy. You should have a lot of other things going on. But this is something that I found really important to talk about because I just see so many people still using them either in a sloppy way, in an effective way, or even not even realizing that they're probably just going to create damage or end up in front of the wrong person or make somebody angry so that they are never going to want to engage with your brand. So it takes a lot of nuance and care to make sure that you're using them effectively. And when you use them effectively, not only are you going to make your audience feel seen and heard and understood, but you're going to be a better copywriter all around. And finally, just keep in mind that when you use pain points well, the perfect customer is going to feel like you are speaking directly to them. And then when they purchase a product or service that is actually going to help them, they're going to be so grateful that you sold to them. And that is a really good feeling. And without that, I don't think I could have ever been a copywriter, quite frankly. Because when you are writing copy that is effectively communicating with just the right people and they are happy to be buying from you, then you're like a matchmaker. And that feels really, really good. So thanks for being here. I appreciate you guys. I love reading your comments. I'm curious, have you been hearing the word pain point and thought to yourself, what the heck is a pain point, really? Because I've noticed there's not a lot of information around it online. So in fact, this topic actually came from some of the comments and questions that you guys have left me. And so I just want to say thank you. I appreciate you. And I will see you next week. And don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. And of course, please don't forget to subscribe. It means so much to me. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.